welcome our blood viewers to RTD's News English edition. As usual, we begin tonight's news with the major and top highlights. Distribution of zakat for the year of 2023. And on the international scene, some 30 migrants missing after shipwreck of Libya. Those were the major and top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The ceremony of internment of the new Sultan of Awassa in the person of Ahmed Ali Mirah Hamfare took place this Monday, March 13th, 2023 in the historical city of Azaita. Several hundred people from the interior of the country, from the Ethiopian diaspora, especially from the Afar region, came to this great ceremony. Djibouti was well represented by several members of government, including the Ministry of Environment, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Ghadir Musa, the Minister of Transport, Mr. Hassan Muhammad, and the Minister of Justice, Mr. Ali Hassan Bahdon, and parliamentarians. A group of traditional songs and dancers were also present, along with hundreds of anonymous people who had visited Ethiopia during the past week. Asaita was therefore the center of interest and the point of coverness for the huge crowd that came to reenact this historic event. The coronation of the 15th Sultan, which took place with the participation of the highest traditional Afar authorities living in the country of the Horn of Africa, festivities that lasted all morning in joy and excitement with the moment that of the execution of the ritual of laying the traditional cloth, marking the effective interment of the new Sultan, Ahmed Ali Mirah Hamfare. We will come back in details on the interment of Sultan Ahmed Ali Mirah Hamfare, the most important and vast Afar Sultanate in Ethiopia, in our editions of tomorrow. In the regional and national scene, the President of the National Assembly, Mr. Dileita Mohammed Dileita, received this morning in his office the Turkish ambassador auxiliary to Djibouti, Mr. Salim Levent. This first contact was an opportunity for both men to review the progress of major cooperation projects being implemented here in Djibouti. This include, among others, the construction of the Friendship Dam, the integration of the Grand Mosque, or the construction of a new pediatric center that will have more than 60 beds. The two personalities also raised the ways and means that are likely to further strengthen the age-old ties, uniting the two nations, and this in aspect of mutual interest, especially in the parliamentary field. Then the President of the National Assembly, Dr. Dileita Mohammed Dileita, received this morning Mr. Utsaka Umo, Ambassador Extraordinary and Parliamentary of Japan to the Republic of Djibouti. The Japanese ambassador began the interview by thanking the new President of the Parliament, Mr. Dileita Mohammed Dileita, for the warm welcome he received. The Japanese diplomat made a point of congratulating the new president for his election to the head of the second institution of the country, that is the National Assembly. During this audience, the cooperation between Japan and the Republic of Djibouti was at the heart of the exchange between the two men. This visit, which is also a contact, is part of the approach of the development to speak with the new president of the National Assembly, who is a historical friend of the Japanese people. In addition, the meeting focused on the review of existing cooperations, relations between the two countries, and ways to further strengthen them. Finally, another meeting between the head of the hemicycle of the Egyptian ambassador to Djibouti. The President of the National Assembly has last received the ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt in Djibouti. The Egyptian ambassador to Djibouti, Mr. Ahmed Abdel Subhi, first congratulated the President of the National Assembly for his election to the head of the hemicycle. In a cordial atmosphere, these discussions have turned particularly around the bilateral relationship between Djibouti and Egypt. The Egyptian ambassador did not fail to mention and thank the availability of the Djiboutian authorities. Following the election of Mr. Dileita Mohammed Dileita to the presidency of the National Assembly of our country, messages of congratulations are pouring in to the National Assembly from the parliaments of the friendly Arab countries. The President of the Parliament of friendly Arab countries, including President Abdul Wahab Abdul Razak of Egypt, the President of the Emirates Parliament, President of the Libyan Parliament, have congratulated all the new President of the National Assembly, Dr. Dileita Mohammed Dileita, following his appointment as President of the National Assembly of Djibouti. The President of the Senate of Egypt also sends his message of congratulations to the President of the Assembly, Mr. Dileita Mohammed Dileita. The Ministry of Women and Family and the Ministry of Digital Economy, in collaboration with the United Nations System, organized a conference on innovation and technology for gender equality in the conference room of the CLE, which is also known as CLE. Tools that once again will allow to put in place the foundations for an egalitarian society. It is within this framework that this theme was at the heart of that day of March 8th. After the official, this workshop served as a base for exchange around the panel. Different guests came to exchange views on the ins and outs of these themes, including the Djiboutian women in technology, the challenges and opportunities in the empowerment of women through new technologies, and finally the presentation of the action plan on the misdeeds in the world of the internet, in society, and among the youth. The workshop ended with the awarding of certificates of recognition to the most active and dynamic associations that work for Djibouti in the era of its time. The Secretary General of the Ministry in charge of Digital Economy and Innovation, Mr. Abdullah Ibrahim Umar, delivered the speech, noting at its outset the importance of linking innovation and technology. In a speech by the Minister of Women and Family, Mrs. Muna Usman Aden, on this occasion, she first thanked the United Nations organization that took seriously the international theme of the International Women's Rights Day. The Great Hall of the People's Palace served as an auditorium yesterday, a ceremony dedicated to the distribution of zakat of the year 2022. I mentioned 2023 in the title, pardon me, it was 2022 actually, under the patronage of the Ministry of Muslim Affairs and Waqfs. This annual ceremony, organized by the Foundation of Diwan of Zakat, was attended by several government members, of the chairman of the board of directors of the foundation, Mr. Abdul Basit Ahmad Al-Zuhairi, the director general of the Diwan of Zakat, Mr. Suleiman Hussein Musa, as well as representatives of the main the Zakatarians and executives of the Ministry of Islamic Affairs and the donors. It is worth noting that the product of zakat for the year 2022 amounted to more than 160 million Djiboutian francs, while the total number of beneficiaries throughout the country reached 1,570 families. During the event, samples of zakat were distributed to the needy families, the elderly, and also to disabled people. In addition, the Diwan of Zakat will distribute these products in coming weeks to poor and needy families in the interior regions. The Zakat distribution ceremony of the year 2022 was crowned by a series of speeches, including the speech of the chairman of the board of directors of the Zakat Diwan, Sheikh Abdul Basit Ahmed Al Zureri, and the director of Dahabshil in Djibouti, Mr. Tahal Yusuf Ilmi. He also thanked the Ministry of Muslim Affairs, Mr. Mu'min Hassan Beri, sponsor of the ceremony, as well as the chairman and members of the board of directors of Diwan. The Director General of Diwan al-Zakat stressed that the establishment of this foundation was the first component of the social policy of the President of the Republic, stressing that the pillar of Zakat is the optimal remedy to the issue of poverty and its dimensions and the promotion of social solidarity. As for the General Director of the Diwan al-Zakat, Mr. Suleiman Hussein Musa, he began his speech by expressing his thanks and gratitude to the President of the Republic for being the founder of this charitable social project and for his continuous support and permanent care for it. For his part, the Minister of Islamic Affairs, Mr. Mumin Hassan Bere, stressed in his speech on the occasion of the importance of the efforts made by Diwan al-Zakat, praising at the same time those who contributed to the continuity of this institution. The Civil Aviation Authority of Djibouti and the United Arab Emirates Civil Aviation signed a memorandum of understanding in the field of civil aviation. Aimed at strengthening their cooperation in this strategic area, the memorandum of understanding was signed by the Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority of Djibouti, Mr. Dawood Ali Abdo, and the Director General of Civil Association of the United Arab Emirates, Mr. Saif Mohammed Al Suwaidi. The memorandum of understanding provides for the establishment of a framework for enhanced cooperation between the two countries aimed at facilitating the exchange of information. It also includes training and exchange of personnel between the different actors of civil association. The signing of this memorandum of understanding reflects the importance of international cooperation in civil aviation. The ceremony ended with the exchange of gifts followed by a family photo. The Republic of Djibouti welcomes the tripartite joint statement issued by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the People's Republic of China on the agreement to resume diplomatic relations between Riyadh and Tehran. In addition to the implementation of agreement previously signed between the two countries, the text has been just initiated provides for the reopening of these embassies and representations with a maximum of 2 months. The Republic of Djibouti is pleased with the fruitful negotiations initiated by the two parties under the leadership of the People's Republic of China. It also welcomes the efforts made by the Republic of Iraq and the Sultanate of Oman in hosting the previous phases of this dialogue between the two countries. Djibouti stressed the importance of the central role played by the brotherly Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in its effective diplomacy in the regional and international level. At the same time, expresses its wish that agreement will contribute to consolidating the foundations of peace, security, and stability in the region and promote the prosperity and development of the two peoples. The Training Center of Salam Tower hosted this morning the opening ceremony of a training workshop for the implementation of an integrated system of electronic document management, administrative affairs state institutions chaired by the Director General of ANSI, Mr. Mustafa Muhammad Ibrahim. The launching ceremony of this workshop was attended by the President of the Court of Accounts, Mrs. Ismahan Mahmoud, and representatives of state agencies who had the opportunity to take part in this capacity building project. For 10 days in a row now, a first group of agents from 7 institutions, including the Presidency, the Parliamentary, the Court of Account, the Independent Commission of the Fight Against Corruption, and the Ministry of Budget, will participate in training sessions. According to the National Meteorological Agency, the rainfall recorded is 2 millimeters in Djibouti city, and the sky is covered since this morning with probability this evening. The situation will continue tomorrow with overcast skies according to the National Weather Forecast. In the regions, the agency reported rainfall in the region of Arta, with Arta city 10 millimeters, Wea 5 millimeters, Biki 12 millimeters. The Al region received rainfall in Sugum, with Ali Sibih city receiving 2 millimeters, Hol 4 millimeters, Ali Addi 2 millimeters. Finally, in Jura region, heavy rainfall was announced in Dora subprefecture with Balho 21. On the coast, Sagalu received 5, and finally, the Dai on Heights received 12. In front of this risk of precipitation, precaution is necessary for the users of the road as well as the outking of the sea. The Training Center for Basic Education Teachers, Umar Egali Ahmad, organized this morning a ceremony to launch a training on the Teach tool for the more than 100 pedagogical advisors and trainees of the CFEEF. The Secretary General of MENFAB, Mr. Muhammad Abdullah Mahyoub, the Inspector General of General Education, Mrs. Muna Ismail Abdo, the Director General of CFEEF, Umar Egali, Mrs. Aisha Farah, Acting Director of PREPEN, Mrs. Roda Mahmoud Ise, presided over the launch of training on the tool Teach. Note that this training will be held at the CFEEF Umar Gale from 13 to 16 March 2023 to coordinate the tools, observe classrooms, practices, and collect field tools related to classroom practice, and finally build a knowledge baseline to match the teaching tool with the new knowledge base of skills. It will only be the pedagogical advisor who would have certified wearable to conduct the survey. Will go to the data collection next week. The management of Ali Sibih Regional Hospital, Dr. Ahmed Absi, carried out a mini medical caravan for the benefit of the population of the locality of Gistir in the region of Ali Sibih. The objective of the visitors in the White Coast was to provide healthcare to the inhabitants of remote villages. This trip was part of the monthly consultation activities set up by the Ministry of Health. The mobile caravan included a doctor, nurses, and midwives. Many families composed of children and adults benefited from free care throughout the day. The healthcare offers of the fixed health structure and the population in the remote localities of the country were massively helped. closing ceremony of the third edition of the Regional Senior Table Tennis Championship, the end of this sporting and intellectual adventure. After 3 intense days rich in activities, emotion, and especially in sharing, the third edition of the Regional Senior Table Tennis Championship ended yesterday evening at the closing ceremony at the Municipal Stadium of Djibouti. The delegation and their table tennis player participants who have distinguished themselves during this championship were honored and thrown on the podium under the sustained applause of the public. They were Ethiopia, Kenya, Mauritius, Madagascar, Uganda, Sudan, Somalia, and of course Djibouti. Needless to say that during the passage of the last, that of the local delegation, the stadium was in full boil. Madagascar obtained the greatest number of medals, all medals and categories included, with Mauritius, which comes in second place. The Malagasy have shown themselves worthy. The Republic of Djibouti, on its side, was satisfied with the bronze. Finally, they had the honor to officially close the edition and to wish all success to the next host country, which will be announced in a few months during the annual congress. It is with great sorrow and deep sadness that we learned of the death of Madame Saada Mohammed Elmi on Saturday, March 11, 2023, in Istanbul, Turkey. Born in 1943, the late Saada Mohammed Elmi worked hard for the independence of our republic. She was very appreciated for her courage, accessibility, and natural sympathy. Respected and loved by all, the deceased left behind a large family including 11 children, 46 grandchildren, and 35 great-grandchildren. The deceased was the mother of our colleague at Radio Television Djibouti, Ibrahim Abdi Umar Gele, and Amina Abdi Umar Gele, in charge of communication at the port of DMP. Her remains will be repatriated to Djibouti and joined in the final resting place at PK12. Upon learning this sad news, the Director General of RTD, Mr. Abdi Adan, and all the staff of the RTD send their sincerest condolence to the family of the deceased, including Ibrahim Abdi and Amina Abdi Umar, and to all their family. We pray to Allah, the Most High, the Merciful, to grant her forgiveness and to welcome her in His eternal paradise. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Shifting gears towards the international scene now, some 30 migrants are missing after a shipwreck off the coast of Libya yesterday during a rescue attempt by a cargo ship sailing in the area. 2 weeks after a sinking near Italy that killed 76 people during the rescue operations, the boat overturned in the middle of the transfer of migrants. 17 people were rescued, but about 30 others are missing, announced the Italian Coast Guard. At the opening of the conference of the Iraqi Prime Minister emphasized the scale of the climate challenge in Iraq. More than 7 million people are affected by drought, and hundreds of thousands of displaced people have lost their means of subsistence due to a lack of water in particular. It is clear that Iraq can no longer ignore the consequences of climate change on its territory and its population. Last year, a dozen sandstorms in 2 months paralyzed Iraq. This February 2023 was marked by the first major droughts, and desertification is progressing. Well, by this, our blood viewers, we finally conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.